Hello, dear passengers. This is your captain speaking, and we are about to take off for another episode of Adventulina. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Adventulina. Hopefully, your favorite travel podcast, and if not, let's make it one of them. Christmas laughter in October. I will take it. There is already Christmas decoration in stores, so what the hell, bring it on. I hope everyone's fall is, going well. Hope you guys are chugging pumpkin spice lattes left and right. Hope you're cozy and comfortable and also ready for some darkness because next month it will be my least favorite time of the year. And no, I'm not talking about Thanksgiving. I do like the holiday. I'm talking about the daylight time saving or whatever you call it. Also deal with 4:30 p.m. looking like it's 11 p.m. But sure, why not? Anyway, there has been a lot going on at your captain's ship. So I wonder where to start from. I think the biggest news is still my trip back home, back to Bulgaria. As some of you know, I'm Bulgarian, and last month I visited my family and friends for the first time since I moved here in 2020. The whole experience was surreal, and I honestly cannot wait to tell you guys more. Interesting thing was that I flew back to Bulgaria on the exact same date that I left to San Francisco 4 years ago, September 13th. Some of you who know me better are familiar with the fact that I love the number 13. This number follows me everywhere I go. I have it on all my documents, codes, and random stuff that don't even depend on me. I also do everything important on that date. And 13 is just, I guess, a big part of my lifestyle. So I was gonna fly on the 13th for sure. It just happened to be the exact same month that I also left in 4 years ago. Which, made the time I hadn't been home exactly 4 years. Not a day more, not a day less. The more interesting thing, though, was the fact that I, with zero intention, booked the exact same seat I was sitting in back in 2020. I mean, what the hell? I know I'm a little bit of a psycho, but come on, even I wasn't planning that. I was already on the plane. I was just looking at my boarding pass as I was, putting my stuff in my backpack, and I was like, why does this look familiar? And I was like, wait a minute, let me check something. So if you're a travel addict like me, you probably spend a lot of time reminiscing about your trips, looking at photos and, reliving the moments you captured on your camera, because that's what I do. And because of that, I sometimes get to remember photos for a while longer than it's probably normal. That's the exact reason my boarding pass looked familiar to me and it called a memory in my head. So I opened my phone, went to the album from my trip from Bulgaria to San Francisco 4 years ago, and what do I see? First photo of the album is my boarding pass from September 13th, 2020, and the seat is 33K. Where was I sitting at the exact same moment when I was checking that on September 13th, 2024? You're right. I was sitting in 33K. I was like, what? Originally, they offered me row 28, aisle side, with extra leg room. And extra leg room on a 13-hour flight is everything. It's like a gift from God. Although in this case, it's a gift from the reservation system. So I was originally assigned to row 28, but the fact that I wasn't gonna have any view for 13 hours made me not want to sit there. Yes, every normal person would love to be able to stretch out pretty much the whole flight without, being bothered by anyone in front of them or by, small leg room, but I would not sacrifice the window for that comfort. I wanted the view. So I ended up paying for a seat, and this is where I picked 33K. Obviously, again. Okay, picking the date is a no-brainer. I'm a Friday the 13th person. I would always book 13th, but the seat, I didn't know I was that dedicated to that goal, Then it all made sense. I always try to book row 13 on a plane, but some airlines don't have row 13 due to, superficial beliefs. Other times 13 is already picked as it's at the beginning of the plane and it gets filled fast. So when I can't book 13, I usually go to either 33 or 23, 33 preferably. So I guess 13 was not available, neither on my way to San Francisco 4 years ago, nor on my way to Bulgaria. So I went with my second choice, 33. But it's not that I just sat on a row 33. I was in the exact same seat, 33K. I didn't have any preferences when it comes to the row, except for it to be a window seat. But, we still have 33A and 33K. How did I decide to pick K both times? I don't know, but I find it funny. It was also cool because I was like, okay, I guess despite 4 years, difference, I'm still the same person somehow. I fly frequently, but this trip was so special to me because I was going to see my family and friends for the first time in 4 years. The emotion of being on the plane this time was not related to the excitement of exploring a new place. It was just impatience and nervousness. Why nervous, you would ask? Well, because no one actually knew I was going home. Yes, that's true. No one from my family or friends knew I was on my way to Bulgaria, but more about this in a little bit. So the night before my trip, I was feeling good, I was almost all packed, I was ready to go. But has anything in my life ever gone well? Absolutely not. And this was an exception. I feel like I can plan everything. I can be wherever I need to be 6 hours in advance. I can think of every single little detail possible and something will still happen. That's just my luck, I'm telling you. So at the end of the day, I guess most of the time, everything turns out fine, but I hate that I still have to, experience those little annoying hiccups. Can I just enjoy just one single trip without those hiccups, For once. Maybe I can't. People are like, shut up, bitch, you're making content for an episode, so I'll take it. Anyway, on the day of my trip, I woke up early. I literally had just opened my eyes and I took a look at my phone and I see a message from Turkish Airlines from about 4 hours ago saying that my flight is in 4 hours. So let me repeat that. At 4:30 a.m. Pacific time, while I was peacefully sleeping, dreaming about passport stamps and booked vacations, at 4:30 a.m., I got a notification that my flight is in 4 hours. And I'm waking up at 8:30 a.m., which technically means my flight is taking off at the same moment I'm waking up. So I'm like, no, what the hell is going on? This is not possible. My mind was racing. I was so confused. And again, guys, I had just woken up. So imagine seeing a notification like this. Like, that's the last thing I want to see ever, especially after I had just opened my damn eyes. So I panicked, I grabbed my phone and I opened Turkish Airlines app to check what the hell was going on. And the flight really wasn't there. Like, out of 4 flights that I had displayed the day before, 2 on my way to Bulgaria and 2 on my way back to the States, there were only 3 available. So, I started to just make calculations in my head to estimate if I can get another ticket immediately, if I, still can fly the same day. I was already panicked and I didn't think straight. I just couldn't believe that, this would happen to me. To me, like the cycle that always books everything and makes super detailed itineraries, the person who remembers absolutely every single flight they were on with dates and everything. I was like, what the fuck is going on? How is this possible to happen to me? I was absolutely sure that I booked the right flight. I mean, I had 3 weeks between paying for it and leaving. So, I stared at that baby so many times. There was no way for me to mess up the date. So after a minute of, pure horror, I checked the reservation and all the confirmations and I saw my flight really was for 6:40 p.m. in the evening the same day. It was obviously some kind of mistake, like horrible mistake. Mistake that cost me my peace and stress-free morning that I wanted to have for myself. I just wanted to have coffee. Instead of that, I almost had a heart attack. A little bit after I calmed down, I just realized what must have happened. I received a reminder for my flight around 4:30 Pacific time, that I have 4 hours until my flight, which means my flight should be at 8:30 a.m., right? But my flight was at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. Then I got it. They sent me the notification according to Eastern European time, where Istanbul falls, because 8:30 a.m. in Istanbul is exactly 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. So motherfuckers scared the shit out of me because they didn't bother to set up their reminders according to the departing time in the respective time zone. I'm sorry, Turkish Airlines. I love you. I know you have been an airline of the year many times, but this is what I call unacceptable. You just can't do that. I'm sorry, you can't do that. So after my mini heart attack, I got up and, had a slow morning, made my coffee, finished my last stuff that I needed to take care of, kind of like took it slow. Because that's what I love on travel days. If I'm not flying early in the morning, if I don't leave directly from the bed to the airport, I want to enjoy my time. I want to know that my luggage is all packed and I have time to not rush and not to leave with anxiety. And it was going well. I even went to print out some documents I needed, and then I was getting ready to leave for the airport, and I realized one document was missing. And I was like, okay, don't panic, you took a screenshot. So I started looking for this goddamn document, and I look and look and look, and I can't see it. And I vividly remember taking a screenshot, but for some reason I couldn't find it on either of my computers, and I was pissed. First, I was like, oh, I forgot to print that out. I have to go to the copy place one more time. But then I was like, no, I can't even find what I need to print. So I went down on a rabbit hole. I was checking document by document, screenshot by screenshot, email by email. At some point, I literally forgot what I was looking for. Then I was like, damn, I can't deal with this anymore. I will try again when I land in Bulgaria, and I guess I'll find a place to print that out there. Then, more things came up, more stuff that I forgot to print out. And I was really upset with myself because I thought I was prepared. I thought I had everything, but no. Thank God, my friend who I was gonna stay with for a little bit in Sofia offered to print them out for me. So I sent her the documents and she just saved my life, literally. The only thing left was to find the document that I was missing, but I didn't have time to do it right now. I had to go to the airport. So leaving during the day for a trip means to me that I don't also have to, take Uber or Lyft. I have enough time to cruise with the public transport and save some buck. With my flight being at 6:40 p.m. and me leaving at 1:30 p.m., I knew I was gonna have not just plenty of time at the airport, but also time to catch up with some work and, some last minute stuff. So I got to the subway station, I scanned my public transportation card, then hopped on a train to the airport. And once I arrived there, something happened and I couldn't exit the station. The scanner was just beeping and didn't want to open despite, me scanning my card. I was like, great, another small annoying thing that has to piss me off on my way to the airport. I don't even know why I still pay attention to these things. I just can't help it. I feel like I've never left anywhere without experiencing those small hiccups that keep happening out of nowhere. When I think back, most of the time, they didn't affect anything big, but they just annoy the hell out of me when they happen. So anyway, I talked to the staff at the subway station and turned out I scanned the wrong card because I had 2 public transportation cards on my phone. One of them I made for a friend who was visiting San Francisco and didn't want to, get the plastic card because he had to put like $20 in. Anyway, we figured out the problem and, they let me leave and proceed to the terminal. So I was already at the check-in. Line was enormous despite me arriving so much earlier. I got on the line, I waited, and then it was my turn to weigh my bags, and something really embarrassing happened. I messed up the luggage. And by messed up, understand I got confused about the number of pieces I had allowed. What a shame, for real. And I call myself a travel podcaster? F that. In my defense, though, I will say that for the last 4 years, I had been traveling in the US exclusively. And I avoided checking in luggage at any price because, as I've mentioned before, checking luggage gives me major anxiety that I would rather save myself from. Also, by flying frequently with a good number of different airlines in the US, I already know by heart which airline allows what. I just don't have to think of luggage anymore, kind of, because I either don't check bags or I know perfectly fine what I am allowed to fly with based on the airline. In this case, though, I was flying with an airline that I hadn't flown with for the last 4 years. However, I correctly remembered that I had two pieces of checked in luggage included, so this was fine. I just messed up the cabin luggage. I thought I was gonna check my big suitcase, the one with the air tag in, and I thought I was gonna take my carry on and my backpack on board. I completely forgot though that Turkish Airlines has a really good baggage policy when it comes to check-in, but on board you are only allowed one personal item. And it totally makes sense because, you can already bring so much, like two suitcases, 50 pounds each or 23 kilos. So it makes sense. I had two suitcases and a backpack thinking I was only gonna check in the big suitcase. When I showed up in front of the lady, she quickly updated me on the baggage policy and said that there is still chance for me to bring a carry-on and a backpack together on board, but only in the case of they both being 12 pounds in total, which didn't change anything for me because I knew I'm way over 12 pounds for each of my pieces, not just total. So she decided to try and, we put my backpack on the scale and just my backpack showed 12 pounds. It was just pointless to even weigh the carry-on. I had to check it in. I had to send both my babies to the cargo. So I quickly moved some stuff from my carry-on to my already full and ready to explode backpack. And I realized I don't have a damn air tag to put in my carry-on, and the carry-on is going to fly in the cargo. I just, I had to say a little prayer and put it on the scale, and it was all in God's hands now, A little too dramatic, but, if you haven't listened to my episode Lost in Luggage Land, I think it's time to catch up. While I was on the line waiting to check my luggage, there were some extra loud ladies next to me. I think they were genuinely nice, but the volume their conversation was going with was too much. For a lot of people, being at the airport is stressful enough, and the last thing people want to listen to is someone, talking without considering anyone else. So once we started boarding, I was walking towards my seat, and guess who I saw? Of course, from 350 seats on the plane, mine had to be exactly in front of loud ladies. I was like, no, God, please don't do that to me. Like, don't punish me for whatever mistake I've made with being close to these people on a 13-hour flight. Please don't do it. But like people in my country, Bulgaria, say, God gave, God took. In other words, sometimes you are being punished, but during the same time, you might be rewarded. And what was the reward in my case, you're asking? Glad you asked. It was an empty middle seat. And as we all know, I'm a window seat bitch. I would squeeze myself towards the window. I will be trapped the whole time. I will even wait 2 extra hours to go to the bathroom because I don't want to wake up a stranger next to me. But yes, I will get that window seat over everything. So right after I found out that the seat pocket in front of me was broken and my belongings were falling down from it, and I was about to, bitch about one more thing, I heard the holy words, boarding completed. I took a look to my left and I met the smiling face of my fellow passenger, my aisle buddy. We understood each other with no words. We had hit the jackpot because that's what a jackpot is on a 13-hour flight, an empty middle seat, period. So right before we took off, I decided to check where my luggage is. Well, at least, one of my suitcases, as I only had one of them air tagged. And guess what? I take a look at the Find My iPhone app and this shit is not moving. All of a sudden, I see an update that shows my luggage is at my home address back in San Francisco. And it was last detected about 20 days ago. Just a second of silence for that rookie mistake. Like, this means I did not check the goddamn AirTag for the last 20 days. Not just that I didn't check it. I had not checked it for at least 20 days before my trip. Looked like this shit was dead for almost a month And I just found out at the airport minutes before I was gonna take off. Like, the embarrassment was growing, guys. I mean, for the last 4 years, I had flown so many times, and for the shortest and the easiest, I would say, trips, I was perfectly prepared. But for the big one, for the most important one, I kept forgetting documents, I messed up the baggage policy, I forgot to check my air tags. Like, who was I? Was my super travel power just gone? I don't know anymore. People always say how much they love my organizing skills and the way I think about everything. No, this was not one of these times. This was a time where I felt unprepared, ironically, for something that I had been waiting for the last 4 years and I had played in my head hundreds of times. But anyway, a little after we took off, I had to remind myself again of the Bulgarian saying, God gave, God took, because my fellow passenger, a seat away from me, had decided to take off his shoes, which in general is fine, but not when you forgot to wash your socks, if you know what I mean. Guys, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't know how to live life. I'm not the most experienced person you meet. I don't pretend I know it all, and I'm not a rude person. But please, please don't take off your shoes on a plane. Just don't, and hear me out. If you take them out, can you please put a pair of socks on top of what you already have? Or just travel with sandals or flip-flops, honestly. I know it's cold on board, especially overseas, but putting on socks and then your flip-flops or sandals, it's the best way to be comfortable without making other passengers feel like there is a skunk that has died on board. I started wearing sandals on long flights, and despite how ridiculous it looks when you wear them with socks, I don't give a shit. I'm comfortable, my feet don't stink, and I can take my shoes off anytime because it's basically the same whether I'm with them or not. But if your feet have been inside a shoe, a covered shoe, where they sweated profusely for some time, please, please do not take them off and let them hang. If you take them off, can you please, please put a pair of socks on top of what you already have? All the airlines that offer overseas flights even give you a small toiletry bag with, essentials for the long hours. Often these toiletries include, guess what? A pair of socks. Because they know it's cold, because they know we're not prepared, and because they know our feet stink. So be a good passenger and put the goddamn socks on, please. Thank God my sense of smell is really, really bad. Those are, the cases where I'm really thankful I lost it years ago, because imagine how I would feel if my nose was extra sensitive. Like, this flight was going to be unbearable. But to my surprise, in about half an hour, the stank disappeared. Or maybe I got used to it and stopped noticing it. I don't know, no idea. But I couldn't smell it anymore. Also, the loud ladies behind me had started one by one to kind of fall asleep, and I loved it. Like, quiet flight with no weird smells, food was coming my way, I could see the card, didn't have anything more to ask for. On top of that, I found there were like 13 episodes of Friends available on the entertainment screen. I was like ready for this 13 plus hour flight. Because yes, feed me and give me access to Friends, and I'm not gonna say a word for the next half a day, I swear. So the flight went pretty well. I even had the chance to nap for a little bit a few times. When it was already, time for bed, I guess, or whatever time it felt like this on the plane, I went to the bathroom and I did what I always do on red-eye or long flights. I went through my night routine, so I can kind of make my body feel like it's really time for bed and I'm, just getting ready for it. Which this time worked, or maybe it only worked because I had the middle seat empty and that gave me more space, I don't know. But this flight was going well and I, couldn't complain. Dinner was good, sleeping was possible, access to Friends was provided, I was offline, I was happy I was going home, loved it. After another partially successful attempt to sleep, it was time for breakfast, which was good as well, and then we were approaching Istanbul. The captain announced some very high degrees, which I didn't really care about because I was at the airport. It's not like I was gonna go explore Istanbul. I only had like less than an hour and a half to go to my other gate, and as you know, at huge ass airports, hour and a half sometimes is not even enough. Thankfully, I had already been at this airport before, so I knew what to expect and I was familiar with, how to navigate it. I did walk for about 15 plus minutes, maybe, until I found my gate, and almost right after, I went to the bathroom and came back, and it was already time to board. So almost no spare time, literally made it right on time. I only stopped at the Wi-Fi kiosk to pick up a code for the internet because at the Istanbul airport you have 1 hour of free internet, and then if you want to get more you have to pay for it. So a code for the free hour or a code for paid access you get by scanning your passport at any of those kiosks at the airport. They're at so many places located at each terminal with big signs above them, and it makes them really easy to be recognized. I don't think it's needed to say that I had number 13 in my code. I mean, tall. So the first weird moment of the whole trip, I would say, was my second flight because they were almost only Bulgarians on it. It was just weird to hear Bulgarian speech coming from all directions. And I'm just not used to it anymore. I almost don't meet any Bulgarians here in San Francisco. Maybe twice a year it happens for me to see some tourists from Bulgaria, or maybe Bulgarians who live in the States and are visiting San Francisco or something like that, but I just don't get to speak my language anymore, sadly, except for when, I FaceTime family and friends. It is very rare for me to be in a situation where there are more than one or two Bulgarians. So when I went to the gate for my second flight, my last flight home, I was feeling like I was, getting closer and closer to my country, which was the case. But I just felt excited because everything was now real. Then we landed in Sofia, and the signs at the airport were also in Bulgarian. I mean, of course, Bulgarian airport, Bulgarian signs. But for me, I was like, whoa, look at that. How cool, It just felt like this. It was really, really nice to see these signs in my language again after such long period of time. Passport control took literally less than 2 minutes, and oh god, my luggage showed up right away, almost no waiting. I was so relieved to see my bags, especially after one of them was unprotected and non-air tagged. So yeah, my friends who I was gonna stay with in Sofia for the weekend came to pick me up. I didn't even know what car they were coming with, so all of a sudden I see this BMW. I recognize my friend in the front seat, and by default I just took a look at the car plate because I guess that's what I do when I get picked up by Ubers, Lyfts, or whatever. And what do I see there? 0913. 0913. You're freaking kidding me. Like, this was just another time that the number 13 had shown up for me. And on top of that, it was September 13th. 913. I mean, coincidence? I don't think so. Let me tell you guys, just in general, being home for the first time after 4 years was honestly surreal. It was weird in the best way possible. It was strange and familiar at the same time. It was just amazing. Like, not many people will understand, but the feeling is really, really great, especially knowing how many people have been waiting for your arrival. So let me just start with the fact that no one knew about this trip. I already mentioned. It was a complete secret, and I still can't believe it did work out so well. Before I booked my ticket, I wanted to make sure that, my parents will be in town on the day I was gonna arrive in my hometown because they travel a lot and, they love going places. I wonder where I got my travel bug from. So the chance for me to show up and to not find them was pretty big. The last time we FaceTimed before I bought my ticket, I just told them there is a friend of mine who would travel from San Francisco to Bulgaria and that I send them, a package. So that's not unusual. I've done it before. Also, this person really exists. So the fact that I used actual existing person made them, really believe and not doubt anything. I just told them there's a package for them that my friend is going to deliver, and it's going to be on the 17th of September. So my parents confirmed that, they have no plans and they will be waiting for my friend to stop by. Little did they know I was going to deliver the package myself. It also turned out that my dad requested a vacation during the first week of my arrival, so it was even better. Without telling them anything, we got everything aligned and we were going to have even more time to spend together. So only a few people in the States knew I was going home, and literally 3 people in Bulgaria knew. My friend who I stayed with after I landed in Sofia, the capital city, and my best friend's husband and very good friend of mine, who I'm also a maid of honor. I had always imagined that one day when I go back to Bulgaria for the first time, it would just be a surprise. I had even joked with some of my friends. They would be like, oh, I feel like you're just gonna, show up one day out of nowhere. And I've always been like, no, no way. I would be too excited to hide it. I wouldn't be able to do it. Well, that was an absolute BS, especially the last few weeks before I left, as I was literally imagining how I'm doing it while I was convincing my friends in the opposite. So I called my best friend's husband, who I knew was going to fully collaborate, and I also knew he was gonna contribute to the whole thing with some crazy ass ideas himself. I called him, asking first if he could pick me up from Sofia, which is the capital city of Bulgaria, and take me home, because my hometown is about 2.5, 3 hours away from Sofia. So I wanted him to also help me, surprise my best friends, my girls, my horses. Why horses, you ask? It's a very long story for now. I will just, leave it to your imagination. So we got on a call with my friend and we started brainstorming ideas of how to trick the girls and how to make it in the most perfect way so neither of them get suspicious. We had about 4 weeks until I was going to arrive. So my friend, by the way, he's a great cook. And why am I telling you this? Because when I lived back in Bulgaria for the last 2 or 3 years maybe, we, the girls, would sometimes gather at his place, well, his and his wife, who is my best friend, and he would cook for us. So all the girls would just go at their place to hang out, have a girls' night, but he would be in charge of food and we just had to, degustate and have fun. So since we had done this a bunch of times before, my plan was to use it as a reason for the girls to gather all together at their place. It just wouldn't be weird if he wanted to make dinner for them because he had done it before many times. No one was gonna think it's strange, and we had 4 weeks to, find a way to distribute the lie in a not obvious way, if I can say that. And to also make sure all of the girls were going to attend, because I wanted them all 4. It wouldn't work if, some of them were missing. The thing was also that we needed to do it on a specific date. So it wasn't like, oh, let's just see when they're available and I will show up. No, it had to be on a specific date because the night before I was going to surprise my parents and my sister, and I wanted immediately after that to see my girls the very next day. It had to be like this, as I wasn't going to be able to hide myself that much. Someone was going to see me and was going to call me out. So my friend came up with the following idea. He works at a company that sometimes organizes like internal competitions for its employees from time to time for them to compete about something. So he suggested, let's say that this month's competition is like a food presentation. And since he's a great cook, he wants to participate and try to win. This way we have the reason for the party, and it wasn't gonna be weird that my best friend's husband will insist on all the girls gathering so he can make them dinner, Fine, we got the perfect fake occasion. But now we needed to make sure everyone was going to be available on the exact day we needed them. And my concern was one of my best friends whose birthday was on the day after that we planned the surprise for. So I was worried that maybe, she would travel, she would go somewhere with her fiance, and I had to reach out to him and I was like, hey, are you guys traveling somewhere for Camelia's birthday? I have a friend who's traveling from the States to Bulgaria and I sent something for her birthday, so he will stop by and deliver it on the 17th. I just wanted to make sure you guys will be there. And, I was just lying my ass off again. And yes, her fiance confirmed that they're not planning anything special. They will be in town and they will pick up the package, which they did not know is not existing. So here I started lying my ass off, and for the next few weeks, the amount of lies I had said and the untruth that I had spoken, guys, countless. You know what I mean? So, okay, we got the occasion slash fake competition. We got the confirmation that everyone will be in town. Now we needed the smaller details. So, I know my friends very well, and they know me too. Like, we are all psychopaths. Like, as you can tell from this story, and as you will be assured by the end of the story, that's true. So, because we all are pretty cuckoo, I needed to be more cuckoo than them in order to surprise them. So I told my friend, the husband of one of them, we need to give them one lie per week, especially because of the fact that he was also the one who was going to pick me up from Sofia and take me home. So we had one more thing to hide. And instead of telling his wife, hey, I'm going to Sofia today, I'll be there all day. Also, I'm going to participate in a food competition for my company. So I want to cook for the girls. Why don't you invite them over on the 17th? No, that was too much. We decided to distribute one lie a week, slowly and unrecognizably. So the first week, he was gonna tell my best friend and his wife that he had a work trip to Sofia, which happens often to him. It wasn't an unusual situation. And he was gonna remind her about this work trip throughout the whole first week, to get her used to the lie. Then the second week, he was gonna tell her, hey, you know how my job makes those monthly competitions? This month the contest is about food and I want to participate with like a burger recipe. And then he was going to repeat that lie the whole second week, so she get used to that one too. Then, when the third week comes, he was going to be like, hey, I'm going to cook so much food trying those recipes. Like, why don't you have the girls over so, they can test the samples and take some leftovers home? And then he was going to suggest 17th because the day before he was going to, have the work trip to Sofia, understanding coming to pick me up. This way, we were giving each lie enough time so people get used to it, and it wasn't going to be suspicious because the information is being delivered separately and with no connection between each other. This is literally my masterpiece. You may think this is too much for someone going home, but for a psycho like me, it was my masterpiece. I was so excited to lie to my best friends, which, by the way, sounds horrible. And I had a really good feeling about this plan. I just knew it was gonna work. So everything was working out. My friend was, keeping me posted on which lie he has told already and what was the reaction of, my best friend and his wife. He told me at some point that, he created a full fake burger menu so he could completely trick everyone, and also, told me to wait for messages in the group chat any moment. So one day the group started blowing up more than normal, and I knew they were making plans for the fake burger night. I watched them being excited for the food. I watched them ordering imaginary burgers that they still didn't know they weren't gonna eat. They even joked with me. They were like, hey, aren't you gonna stop by for a burger? And this is a normal joke in our group because every time they go out and they start picking each other up with the cars, like carpooling, I say something like, hey, come pick me up too. They laugh, whatever. Little did they know, this time I really was gonna show up for the burgers. So the group, kept being super active, messages about the burger party, planning. I was reading everything and I was laughing my ass off, knowing how deep in the lie they were. But we all were. I swear to God, at some point, I even started believing that they would be burgers. I just blended so well with the fake party that I started believing in the lie and expected burgers indeed. So the week of my arrival had come, we had everything confirmed, no one was suspecting anything, everyone was confirmed to attend, things were Gucci. Because I had to stay for the weekend in Sofia, I had to be in a full undercover mode, which also included posting some absolutely fake photos and limiting my, viewers to only my girls. So, they still see that I'm back home in San Francisco if something goes wrong. And the psychopath I am, this is another level of dedication, but I recorded a video from my couch in San Francisco saying, what? In Bulgaria? Guys, I'm home in San Francisco. Look where I am. I don't even know what you're talking about. And this was in case someone sees me or someone gets suspicious. I had the perfect proof that I'm telling the truth. And my perfect proof was a full-ass fake video taken weeks in advance that was gonna save me if something goes wrong. Also, the time that I spent in Sofia, I had to keep everything going as I was in San Francisco. I was so used to texting my family in the morning that when I landed in Bulgaria, I was almost gonna wait for the next day to text them. And then I was like, wait a minute, I have to keep the same time so they don't suspect anything. I mean, even if they found it strange that I'm texting them in the morning, they would never ever suspect that I'm in Bulgaria. So I texted them right away, pretending I was just, getting up. Thank God for the 10 hours difference. Honestly, it really gave me, time to have the 13-hour flight and be online right on time to text them. So the day to go to my hometown was finally here. I was super excited and a little anxious, if I have to be honest, just because I knew it was going to be, a shock for everyone. And I guess a small part of me was concerned about, someone passing out or something like this. So my friend picked me up from Sofia after I spent the weekend with my other friends. Shout out to Polly and Itzy, the sweetest people ever, who, shared their home with me and who cooked the best Bulgarian meals ever from the very first minute I walked in, basically. Thank you guys. Back to the story. My best friend's husband picked me up and we headed home. Not just home, Bulgaria, but home, my hometown. I was like, I can't even describe it. In a few hours, I was gonna see my family for the first time in 4 years. I was gonna see my nephew who got born while I was in the US and I had never seen. And the day after, I was gonna see my best friends in the whole world, the people who have been with me through thick and thin, my non-biological sisters, my horses. So we were approaching my town. We were about to pass the city sign. I felt like I was dreaming. It had been so long since I had seen this sign. It had been so long since I'd driven around the city. Now I was there. I was about to spend 3 weeks with the people I love the most, and I couldn't wait a minute longer. But I had to because I did not have keys to any of the places I was going to. Why would I take the keys to my place in Bulgaria to the US when I knew I wasn't gonna use them anytime soon? I left them and I just needed someone to help me with surprising everyone. So I called my sister's husband, and after the initial shock, we made plans to, meet at kind of a hidden spot in the city so no one sees us. And this way we could move the luggage and myself to his car. So here is the moment to mention that I come from a small town of about 70 or 80,000 people, not sure, somewhere in between, nothing crazy. And this is why everyone there knows each other. You may not know some people personally, but one of your friends knows them. You always have mutual friends with the people you don't know. You always know something about the people you don't know. There is no such thing as no one knows this person in my town. Like, we all know each other in a way. You just can't hide. You can't do shit without being seen. And for the last 4 years in San Francisco, I lived my life being no one, being a complete stranger to everybody. And I kind of loved it because I don't care who sees what. I just live my life. Well, not that, I do something secretive or I'm hiding from someone, but the anticipation of bumping into people doesn't exist here. It's really rare to meet someone outside in a city like San Francisco. I probably experienced it, literally 3 times. But a little after we passed the city sign of my hometown with the car, I already saw the first person that I know, and I literally couldn't believe it. It's been about 3 minutes since we got into the city, and it was already happening. Like, we weren't even in downtown yet, like the miracle of the small town. Then we kept driving because we had some time to kill until my brother-in-law picks me up. And the longer we were driving, and by longer, understand 10 minutes, the more familiar faces I was seeing on the streets, like block after block. People just kept showing up, and I had to slide myself down on the car seat so no one sees me. Because last thing I wanted was to, have someone seeing me hours before the biggest surprises that I was ever gonna make. We even parked the car in between some buildings where literally no one ever walks. And I ended up seeing 4 more people that I know walking up and down. It was ridiculous. Like, I couldn't believe it. I had literally forgotten how small my town was and how well everyone knows each other. We stopped at the gas station for a bathroom break, and my friend had to cover me with a jacket while I was walking inside because we saw people we knew. And we were about to get caught. So If one person saw me, the whole town was gonna know. That's how it works there. The only thing that I could use to prove that I wasn't in Bulgaria was going to be this fake ass video I took from my couch in San Francisco, you know? And after some more time sneaking around, we met with my brother in law and we transferred the luggage and myself to his car. Meanwhile, someone who's very close to one of my best friends literally drove by us behind my back. So we almost got screwed. Thank God he didn't see me. It was time for the first surprise though. We were on our way to my sister's place. And honestly, guys, her face when she saw me can probably be described with one of those cartoons that see something and their jaw just drops all the way to the floor and bounces back. That was her. That was her face when she saw me, I swear to God. She lost speech and everything. It was such a great moment. Like, I also got to see my younger nephew who I had never seen before. He just got born while I was in the States. I was so excited to meet him for the first time. And then my biggest love, my other nephew, oh my God. Like, only someone who has nephews will understand the feeling because this kind of love, this kind of feeling is literally insane. It's like it's your kid, but not really. You know what I mean? My sweet older nephew, he was so shocked. He was hugging me so tight. He didn't let go for maybe 3 minutes. He was crying on my shoulder. And honestly, that was the most emotional moment for me from the whole trip. Because as shocked as he was to see me, I was even more shocked to see what kind of man he turned into. Like, he is so tall, almost as tall as me, if not already my height. And it was crazy to see him for the first time after I left him being as tall as, I don't know, the door handle. Like, now he's a grown up, and it was extremely interesting and also surprising to see him in a completely different stage of his life than the one I left him in. My God. So after a little more crying and emotions, we were off to my parents' place, which is really close, but we were still gonna take the car. So I walked outside my sister's building and I hear someone calling me by name. And I was like, fuck. Then I saw a girl that I used to work with in one of the restaurants in Bulgaria. We talked for a little and I just told her, don't say a word to anyone until tomorrow, please. Then we headed to my parents' place. I had to hide one more time in between cars in front of the building because I saw people I knew walking around. It was so funny, I swear. But, the plan was for my sister, her husband, and my nephews to go up to my parents' place. And then my brother-in-law to tell them, oh, I forgot something in the car, I need to go back. And that's when I walk in with him. So I was waiting downstairs, super excited and nervous at the same time. And he finally showed up. It was, showtime. We were at the door. It was so unreal to be there, to stand in front of this so familiar door. He walks in first, and then I slowly walked in behind. And I could already see my dad sitting on the couch in the living room. And here's the moment to mention. I wasn't planning on, jumping like a maniac in the middle of the apartment and screaming bloody murder, surprise! Because my parents are in their 60s now. So I wanted to surprise them, not to give them a heart attack. And, so that was something to consider, the way I was gonna show up. I thought about it many times throughout the years, and my initial idea was to call them on FaceTime and be like, hey, does this look familiar, this behind me? And, I'm, let's say, in front of the door, or maybe I just call them and I'm like, oh, guess who's at the door, come open, something like this. Just something that will give them a little heads up that I actually may be there, Although it turned out, even if I was in front of them, they still weren't gonna believe it. Also, as I said, I didn't have any keys, neither for my parents' place nor for my sister's. So those plans kind of went to hell for all the surprises. I needed someone to assist me. The other thing I thought was to wait downstairs in front of the building and to just call them and be like, hey, look through the window, see who's there. But then I was gonna give them such long time to first freak out, then put their shoes, then take the elevator, come all the way down. So I'm like, no, that's not gonna work. The other idea was just to tell them, oh, my friend who's delivering the package from San Francisco is downstairs. Can you go open for him? But I decided that this is not a good idea either because I didn't want us to be in public when we see each other for the first time in 4 years. And as we established, once you make a step out of your building in my town, you are in public and you will be seen. So back to the story. I could already see my dad sitting on the couch in the living room, and I just got into the hallway and I said, "Good evening," just to make sure they will hear my voice and, it's not gonna be absolutely out of nowhere. Then I remember my dad looking at me for a few seconds in complete shock. He didn't move, he didn't blink, he didn't say a word. He was just staring at me like he saw not a ghost, but something extremely weird and unusual. Well, maybe ghost fits in that description, I don't know. He was like hypnotized. He just got up and started walking towards me kind of like a zombie. Like he didn't know what he was doing. And then my mom showed up from the other room, and I remember the shock on her face. Oh my god. She kept screaming and asking like, "Is that true? Is that true? Is it really you? Oh my god." It was an amazing moment, and to hug them after 4 years was so surreal. Like only people who have been far away from home for such a long period will understand. I'm pretty sure I don't remember some moments because the adrenaline and excitement were through the roof. Like, thank God my nephew took a video because I really don't remember what I was saying and what was happening in general. We just recovered some of the memories through, the magic of the phone later. But yeah, it was amazing. I was so happy to finally see my family, to spend time with them, to talk to them, not just through a screen and without, having to hang up a phone, just sitting together around the table, doing things that were part of my everyday life before I moved to San Francisco. It wasn't real. It was weird in the best possible way. It was familiar, just so many mixed emotions. Then I realized I had to stay inside and not leave the apartment until the next day evening because there was one more surprise that was, being prepared for weeks at this point. So I didn't want to ruin it by someone seeing me. And we already saw how easy it is for you to be seen. So basically, I just had to stay inside. The next day comes and it was time to give other 4 people a mini stroke. Just kidding, but pretty much, yeah. So we already had, burgers night arranged. We knew everyone was going to show up, but I woke up in the morning. Well, woke up is an overstatement, as I barely slept, and that's a different topic. So I wake up and I see the group chat is blowing up. I take a look and I see one of my best friends saying that she was sick and she couldn't come tonight. She just didn't feel well at all, and she, didn't want to get anyone sick. I was like, fuck, like, how is this possible to happen? Like, the very last moment. And also to the person who never cancels, ever. Like, she's the one that, honestly, I don't ever remember her canceling anything. Like, I would expect it from anyone else, but not from her. She always does the unthinkable, just to not skip a party or girls' night. Then I texted my friend who was helping with the surprise, the husband of one of my best friends, and I told him, "Houston, we have a problem." So we started coming up with different ideas, kind of like doing damage control, and we decided the following. Because it was one of the girls' birthday after midnight, and because it was his wife's business anniversary the very same day, he was going to contact my friend who canceled because she was sick, and he was going to tell her, "Please just come for 30 minutes. I really need you there for those surprises. It's like a double occasion, like Camelia's birthday and my wife's business turns 2 years. So please come at least for 30 minutes, then you can leave." This way, it wouldn't look suspicious for him to insist on her coming when she's sick. Because, like, who the hell wants to go anywhere when they're sick? And who the hell would convince anyone to go somewhere when they're sick? Especially when there are kids around. And that's what I love about my friends, is that they don't give a shit. Like, if we're planning something crazy, if we want everyone to be somewhere, we will sacrifice ourselves, our well-being, our health, including our children's health or whatever. But we want to be all of us together. So my friend was even like, "It's okay, the kids will be fine. They're sick all the time anyway." In this moment, I realized how lucky I am to just have the same psychopaths like me for friends, And we were already coming up with a plan, and then another problem popped up. Another of the girls texted the group, "Oh, I forgot we were invited to a kids' party tonight, and I'm gonna be late, and I'll only stay for like an hour." I was like, what the hell is going on? Up until yesterday, everything was going fine. We got 4 out of 4 people. Like, these 4 were the most important and the only ones I wanted in the same room. Now, 2 of them were out. So this friend texted us saying that, she had this other commitment, and then my friend's wife, who was hosting the fake burger party, she got super mad because, she took it as a responsible thing to cancel last moment. She was like, "Oh, really? Why didn't you say anything? This is so disrespectful, to do it last moment when my husband invited all of you weeks ago. He's been cooking all day long." And I was reading that, and I just imagined her husband pretending to make fake food, fake burgers. But guys, they started fighting, and then, the host said, "You better not come at all if you're gonna come only for an hour." And the other one replied, "Oh, great, you don't want me. I'm not gonna come at all. Don't worry." And things just got heated up. They started fighting. I was like, oh my God, this is a friendship of over 25 years. We've been like sisters our whole life. And today, on the day of me coming back after not seeing them for 4 years, looks like this friendship was going to an end in my face. It was ridiculous. And then I realized I wasn't going to succeed with this plan unless I get more people involved. I just needed the help. I had to ask more people to play with me. So I first texted the husband of my sick friend to let him know that I was in Bulgaria and tonight's party was actually a made-up evening so I can surprise the girls. He got super excited. He was like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Of course she will come. I don't care she's sick. Don't worry about her. She'll be fine. I will just make her put a mask and I'll drop her off myself. Just let me know what time she needs to be there." I love it. I love it. Then I proceeded to calling the husband of the one who was fighting because she had the other party. And her husband got super excited as well. He kept screaming on the phone. He was like, oh my God, I don't care if she has to not go to the other party. She's not gonna go. We don't care about the other party anymore. This is more important. The surprise is more important. Of course she will be there. Just make sure she's not gonna pass out because she's gonna be so excited to see you. She'll be so happy." And things just started improving. I could tell. Now, we had more people involved, which I initially didn't want because, this way the risk for someone to screw up is bigger. But we were also hours away from the surprise. So I had to risk it and believe that, for such short period of time, everyone will be able to keep it cool. So the actual plan for the surprise was for the girls to be around the table, talking, and then my surprise buddy was gonna make them stay in one of the corners of the table for a video that he wanted to take. He was gonna tell them that he needs a video for the food presentation. Remember, they still think that he's participating in this food contest. So he was gonna make them scream something like, "Oh, come on, where are the burgers? We're hungry, give us the food." And then I was gonna show up behind them and be in the video without them having an idea. And of course, after that, they were gonna see me at some point. The psycho I am, I had thought of everything that could possibly go wrong at the house. Because fine, we made it until the actual evening. We got everyone together despite sickness and other commitments and fighting. But there still were things that could go wrong. So I had made a short list with some of them. Number 1 was the door to squeak and for them to hear that someone was coming. Number 2 was for the dog to start barking as she hadn't seen me for like a while and, maybe she wasn't gonna recognize me. And number 3 was for the girls to see me from inside the house as I was gonna walk through the house's yard. So door was fixed, dog was as friendly as she was before, and my friend thoughtfully put the blinds down on every single window, and we were good to go. I got the signal to leave. He opened the door for me, and we repeated the plan one more time. I was already at the house, and I could hear my girls talking, like always, one over another, everyone discussing their own topic, loud as fuck. My heart was going to explode, guys. So I wanted to see them and to hug them already. I was so impatient. I wanted to do it so bad. And I heard the key phrase, "Hey girls, gather for a video. I want to take a video before you try the burgers." So this was the sign for me to be ready to show up any moment. We agree that once I hear them chanting whatever he makes them chant, I will just walk in. So they started yelling, "Come on, where are the burgers? We're hungry, give us the burgers." And I walked in. I had such stage fright, if you will. I walked in, I stood behind them, and I watched them yelling bullshit for 10 seconds. I was behind them. No one still knew that I was right behind them. They were so dedicated to make that video work. And they were so loud that they didn't even hear me chanting with them. They didn't realize there was one more person yelling like a maniac behind their backs. I could see my friend with the camera holding their daughter, who's about a year and a half old. I could see him cracking up, seeing that he's the only person who sees me. They had no idea what was going on. And then the girls slowly stopped chanting, and I said something like, "So, are we gonna have those burgers or not?" I don't remember. The adrenaline was too much. I believe I said something like this. And then one by one, the faces, the reactions, the shock, oh my god. Stone faces. Like, even my sick friend who got dragged out of bed to attend, even her face, I could see through the mask. Her eyes were gonna pop out. And next thing I remember, they were all over me, hugging me, crying, screaming, shaking my head. Like, it was the best moment ever. And again, pretty sure I blacked out at some point because I really don't remember certain things. Then the initial shock just went away slowly, and we told them that the whole evening was just a fake burger party, that there was no such thing as a food competition, that the husband didn't go to Sofia for a work trip but to pick me up. They were just shocked how much we lied to them. We got them so good. I am a horrible liar in general. I can't even lie about the smallest thing, but if it's for a good cause, if it's for a surprise or something like that, I will lie my ass off. I will make this lie so good that even I will believe in it. Like, I will turn it into a masterpiece and I will go with it for as long as I have to. And I kid you not, after lying to so many people for a month, at some point I really felt like there was gonna be a burger party. I truly believed we were gonna, help our friend win the competition, win the prize. And the night was amazing, just to be with my closest friends and to laugh and talk like only we can. This was just a moment that I dreamt about for so long. I felt home. I felt like I've never left. I felt like everything was just like before I left, before I moved to San Francisco. And we were really, really happy to be with each other. And at some point we're like, oh my God, like this was such an emotional moment. Like, let's see how it looked on the camera. So of course, guys, of course. Like, has anything happened to me smoothly, with no problems, with no hiccups, with no little annoying things? Absolutely not. We take a look at the video, and the video was only 8 seconds because the sweet daughter of my friends just decided to click pause while she was in her father's hands. We just didn't see her, but she pretty much cut the video off, and we only had the first 7 or 8 seconds. We didn't really capture the moment of the girl seeing me, of the most emotional part. We were really upset at first, but then I'm like, you know what, screw it. Like, the most important thing was the surprise and first to see each other. And I know we don't have it memorized anywhere, we don't have it captured. I only regret not having the video because I truly blacked out at some point, and I just wanted to put, the puzzle together. I just wanted to see certain moments that I didn't remember. I wanted to see them from the video and just to have it as a memory, as kind of like life souvenir from my trip. But it is what it is, and I just decided not to think about it anymore, although it was gonna be amazing to have it. But anyway, for the next 3 weeks, I saw so many people and I hung out with so many friends that, I've been waiting to see, that at some point I realized that I hadn't had a single moment by myself since I got picked up from the airport in Sofia. The limited time that I had, combined with everyone's busy schedule, required a really good organizing of my days just so I can see everyone I wanted to see. And I'm not joking when I say I had a list on my phone with all the days and who I need to see each day, what time, and stuff like that. Otherwise, it was impossible to remember all the plans I made. Like, absolutely crazy. Because in normal life, you'll never interact with this amount of people on a daily basis for like 20 days straight. I literally had one person to go out for breakfast or brunch with, then second person for like late lunch in the afternoon, then another person for the evening, or a whole group of people for dinner, hanging out, clubs and stuff. It was crazy. I think it's obvious that I almost didn't sleep at all. I was, still on California time. I would fall asleep at like 6 or 7 in the morning in Bulgaria, and a little after that would be, time for me to wake up. My eating was horrible as well because, at the time I usually have breakfast in San Francisco. It was the time I was eating dinner in Bulgaria, so it was right the opposite. I felt like I was on the pedal like 24/7, horrible sleeping schedule, not even schedule. My stomach was confused as fuck, like didn't properly eat almost the whole time, constantly running from place to place, trying to see everyone. Honestly, when I got on the plane to San Francisco, I felt like I was on a vacation. And don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. I loved it. Like, I was super excited to see everyone, but it was just too exhausting, like physically and I would say socially. My social battery just needed a recharge. The amount of hangouts I did for 3 weeks in Bulgaria is probably something you do for, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 months. I'm not kidding. But it was awesome. I wouldn't do it any other way. I don't care about food and sleep as long as I get to see everyone. And the travel freak, in me, thought for a brief second to book, a short weekend somewhere in Europe, some Europe trip while I was in Bulgaria. But this thought went away pretty fast once I saw, how hard it was going to be just to align schedules with everyone. Also, I didn't really care about any other destination. It was my first time home after 4 years, so I wanted to focus only on Bulgaria. Other destinations could wait. And I didn't even go anywhere really outside of my town, with one exception. I just, maximized my time in my hometown and hung out as much as possible with the people that I missed so much. But, I eventually came back to San Francisco, and I know the year is almost over, but as we know, I don't like not having booked trips. I thrive seeing my airline applications giving me, notifications for my upcoming flights. I love it. So I never leave myself not booked, if I can say that. Because in order for me to keep my sanity, my mental health, in good condition, and my brain in good vibrations, I need to have something booked in the near future. I need to expect something. I need to look forward to something. If, God forbid, it's not a trip booked, it has to be at least a concert. And, this concert better be a good one because it really, has to fill the gap between other trips. So although the year is almost gone, I somehow ended up still having 4 trips planned by the end of the year. I know, I'm sick. There is just something wrong with me for sure. I mean, at this point, I'm convinced it should be a diagnosis. But, nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. No, seriously, guys, I'm pretty sure at this point I'm sick. This just can't be right. I mean, sick in a good way, like the coolest disease ever. Like trypophobia, the fear of not having any trips booked or whatever it was. I'm telling you. I just feel this constant itch to go on Google Flights or any of the apps on my phone, just to check, just out of curiosity. And next thing I know, I'm making a legit 3-day plan. It's my classic move. I love who I am, but sometimes even I'm like, damn girl, at least wait for your carry-on to pass the door and then start looking for your next destination. But no, most of the times I'm already looking for flights on my way back from a trip, most likely at the airport where I have a connection flight. What should I say? Some people are like, oh, you can't go everywhere, you can't see everything, you can't go from trip to trip, blah, blah. I just prefer to ignore these things and surrender to my constant desire to wander. And this is how I ended up with 4 trips booked by the end of the year in mid-October. One of them will be my annual trip to the beautiful Lake Tahoe, which I look forward to because I always have such a good time there. On top of that, Tahoe is one of the 2 places where I have seen snow at since I moved to the US, because as you guys know, I live in San Francisco. There is no winter in this part of California and in many others, but there is winter at Tahoe. So I'm excited for at least some cold weather. The second trip will be a surprise I'm doing for someone near and dear to my heart who has no idea about it. Again, another surprise. He just knows he needs to be ready on a specific day with specific clothes for like 60, 70 degrees Fahrenheit. My Celsius listeners were like, where the hell are you taking this poor guy? To the sun? But no, yeah, so I won't give out more. I will only say it's a destination in the States. So for this one, I will say it's a California trip at least. Third trip was decided basically for 10 minutes. I, again, was sitting on my desk doing something completely different when I, out of nowhere, decided to check some concert tickets. Long story short, I'm flying to Las Vegas next month for a concert that I couldn't attend here in the Bay Area because I ended up traveling to Bulgaria. And the last trip for 2024, we're gonna close the season with Mexico. I'm super excited. It's gonna be my first time in Mexico. We're going to Guadalajara to see a friend of ours for a few days. And then we're going to spend the rest of the time in Mexico at a ranch outside of the city. I honestly cannot wait to eat like a pig and to hear Spanish speaking everywhere around me, seriously. So a lot to still look forward to. I'm really, really thankful for everything that has been happening and, for all the opportunities in general. I recently also noticed a lot of new destinations where Adventurina has listeners from, and I want to say I see you guys, I see you, and I read everything I receive, so don't stop sending questions, don't stop listening. There are exciting things coming your way, and thank you for the support of the show, and let's keep planning and sharing our adventures. I will see you guys next Sunday for the next episode, and until then, bon voyage!